All right, let's go. Of course, this is Jay Dizzle. Today, representing Crypto Talk Podcast. And I'm going to do this video as I said I would do earlier. First of all, I know this video is going to go over the head of a lot of people. Typically, I wouldn't do this one on Facebook. I would just reserve it for my crypto channel, Crypto Talk Podcast, which you should subscribe to. By the way, follow on Twitter if you're on Twitter. But I'm going to do this one on Facebook just because I want to crack the code and hopefully attract the attention of those who, have more on their radar than what Sierra was wearing at the Oscars or wherever the hell she was at. Right? So like I said, this video ain't really going to be for those who don't have money, don't ever plan on having money, don't really understand the importance of why you should understand how banks work, because this isn't just about Silicon Valley Bank, because all banks operate the same. So we're going to talk about fractional reserve banking. I'm going to try to keep it as basic as possible, that way you can get a ground level understanding. We're talking about fractional reserve banking, why banks collapse, and what kind of things you can do outside of banks. So when I speak about crypto and blockchain, I'm not speaking from a trying to get rich quick perspective. I'm thinking I'm trying to show people this from a perspective of these are different options that you have. And in this case, how you can get paid the same way banks get paid. Scaling it to whatever financial resources you have, right? So if you're watching this, make sure you share this. I don't care if you're watching the replay, share it to different crypto channels. Like I said, subscribe to the channel, share it to, any kind of financial black channels, whatever your favorite channels are, or not channels, groups are on Facebook. If you're already watching this on YouTube, subscribe if you haven't already. So anyway, let's get busy, y'all. So the first things first, what we're going to get into is why did this bank collapse? This is a pretty big story that's kind of being pushed under the radar. But why did Silicon Valley Bank fail and collapse? And is your bank at risk of doing the same thing? How do banks operate? How do they get money? And then what kind of options do you have? So let's go ahead and get into this first, like this. Let's talk about fractional reserve banking. In a nutshell, fractional reserve banking is just break down the word fractional reserve, meaning that they only have to have a fraction of your money. I'm gonna play this video in a minute, but just so you can understand this, because it's not really that difficult. It's just things that we weren't really taught in school. So I don't expect everyone to be able to really follow this 100%, but just get a base level understanding. Right. So if you're into crypto and you're really studying Bitcoin, one thing I've noticed is people who understand Bitcoin from a perspective of what it is and why it is typically have a deeper understanding of finances, of what money is, the history of money, why it's important to understand what fractional reserves mean, why it's important to understand the significance of the dollar being taken off the gold standard, and the significance of fixed supply of money. So peep game. In a nutshell, fractional reserve is just what it sounds like. So your bank, any bank, I don't care where you bank, the money's not there. If everyone went to the bank to pull out their money, it is not there. For a couple reasons, not just because of fractional reserve banking, which is the biggest reason, but also because 90% of money is digital. 90% of the money in circulation is not represented by a tangible dollar bill. It's just digits on a computer, period. Which brings me to a point before we get started, because I was having a conversation with some people on Facebook, and every time something like this happens, you have the people that's out there, oh, money's going cashless, mark of the beast. Yeah, you're right. Money is definitely going cashless. In fact, it's already 90% there. Money's already cashless, y'all. There's no need to panic. understand how to adapt and take advantage of these situations, because money is already cashless. We are already virtually in a cashless society. Like I said, 90% of money is digital. And how do you know that you're in a cashless society? What do you think a check was back in the day? What do you think debit and bank cards are? That's cashlessness. What do you think Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and dozens of other ways, digital wallets and ways that you can transact with money? I'm not even including the cryptocurrency. I'm just saying, just in your everyday standard banking systems, it's already cashless. So there's no need to be worried about it's going cashless. It already is cashless. Now let's get back to fractional reserve banking. I'm gonna play this quick little video. Here we go.
Fractional reserve banking is the banking system most countries use today. It requires banks to hold only a fraction of the money their customers deposit. That amount is the reserve requirement, and in most countries it is set by the central bank. Banks can loan the rest of their deposits to other customers, which serves to expand the economy. It works like this. Banks accept deposits from individuals and businesses, providing them with savings and checking accounts in return. Banks can loan out the bulk of those deposits to other customers to buy homes or cars, start businesses, or to fund other projects. If a customer deposits $100,000 into a bank and the reserve requirement is 5%, the bank can loan $95,000 out to other customers. Once the bank is loaned.
So you understand that, right? So they're saying in this case 5%. So for all the money collectively that a bank holds, they only really have to hold 5%, meaning that they don't expect more than 5% of the people or 5% of their money to be called back at any time. So they'll take the other 95%, they'll loan it out. This is how you get car loans. This is how you get mortgages. This is how you get credit cards. This is how you get business loans. And they'll also use it for other investments outside of what I just named. You hear what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is your bank doesn't have the money. They're doing things to make that money expand, mostly by loans because they get interest, but they also put them in other different types of investments. So this is why I'm saying, like, any bank, every bank does this, credit unions included. They do this. But I'll continue.
Loaned out $95,000, it in essence has created $195,000. Customers borrow. Bank can loan $95,000 to a bank and the deposits $100,000 to fund other projects. If a customer deposits $100,000, loan out the bulk of those deposits to other customers to buy homes or cars, start businesses, or to fund other projects. If a customer deposits $100,000 into a bank and the reserve requirement is 5%, the bank can loan $95,000 out to other customers. Once the bank has loaned out $95,000, it in essence has created $195,000. Customers borrow that $95,000 and deposit some or all of it into other banks. If the reserve requirement is still 5%, then the other banks can loan $90,250 to new customers, and the process keeps repeating itself. Financial crisis occurs when the fractional banking system breaks down and the money supply does not expand. Many U.S. banks had to shut down during the Great Depression because so many people attempted to withdraw their money at the same time. Today, safeguards exist to prevent such an occurrence.
So that they kind of broke down in a nutshell how banks operate, right? And why these banks fail, because they only have a fraction of reserve. So if they only have 5% of the total money that people have deposited in because they've loaned out the rest or invested others in other ventures, and then collectively 10% of their money is called back, meaning that people, they're trying to take out money from the bank, close their account, get their money back. The money ain't there. That's called a bank run. And that's why banks like SVB collapsed and then had to be bailed out. Because banks use your money to make money. Now the cap is this. Even though they're loaning out this money at high percentages, they're only paying you typically 0.1%, maybe 1%. maybe 2 if you're lucky, to hold your money in savings. So they're using your money, giving you a fraction of a percentage while they're loaning it out for up to 30%. This is where DeFi comes in. And we'll get to that in a minute. So imagine if you can do what banks do. Well, you can. So if you're wondering, like, what is the big issue with this bank collapsing? This is basically what happened. And this is why I say basically it's a risk for any bank, because every bank operates the same. They only have a fraction of the reserves, just a fraction. They don't have it all. They don't have a 1-to-1 pegging to your dollar. If everyone went to the bank to take out the money, it's not there. They only have a fraction of that money. The rest is being loaned out to make more money or invested in things you don't know about. So like, I know a lot of people heard about the FTX, which was that crypto exchange that collapsed. And when that was going on, I was on my crypto channel telling people, hey, I'm not sticking up for FTX, but just know that every exchange, Coinbase, Binance, they operate the same. Every bank operates the same. They don't have your money. They just don't. And then there's other things. So this is why, like, when I speak about crypto, I speak about DeFi, which we're going to get into next. I'm not speaking from, I'm not speaking on it from a perspective like just invest your money. I don't tell people what to invest in. Hey, buy this crypto. No, just understand what it is. You'll figure out what to do. There's literally countless ways that you can leverage this and either have passive income. You could be more aggressive with different investments. You could do all kinds of things that you couldn't do in the past without having a large bag. You can essentially be your own bank and get paid the same way banks do. What does that mean? So banks get paid to loan money out. That's part of how they make money. They loan money out. Well, in DeFi, you could do the same thing on a smaller scale without giving up your personal information. Make money without having to do a tax event. So you could put your money in a pool like you're doing at your bank, but instead of getting 0.25%, which if you think about inflation, 0.25%, you're not keeping up with inflation. Here's what 0.25% interest, that you're getting on your money in the bank looks like. You have $1,000. Let's get this music back popping real quick. Hold up. You have $1,000, right? In the bank. You're getting 0.25%. That means at the end of the year, you'll have what? $1,002.50. Which sounds like you made $2.50 in the year. But you didn't. Because even if inflation's at 5%, you actually lost $50 spending power. So your $1,000 is only going where $950 would have took you last year. So you actually lost $50 in essence. Enter DeFi. Now with DeFi, you are the bank. You can capitalize and make money the same way the banks do. So you could put your money in a lending pool where people could only borrow it with collateral, guaranteeing that you get your money back. And you can get 8-10%. You could be a liquidity provider. Yield farm. The liquidity provider just means that basically you'll put your money in a certain smart contract, which is how people are able to trade, in some cases, cryptocurrency. So you'll actually be making a profit based on people trading particular cryptos. Or you could do something I've done before. And these are the kind of things that I teach people who watch my channel, Crypto Podcast. Email me at cryptalkpodcast@gmail.com. I do consultations and I teach people in real time via Zoom how you can maneuver and do some of these things that a lot of people just aren't aware you could do. But they're things that are now starting to be implemented by banks as they start to switch over to blockchain-based banking, meaning the ledger system they use is on the blockchain rather than the traditional banking way that it's done today. And before I get into that, I'll just explain it. It's very simple. Blockchain is a ledger. So if I send you a Bitcoin, all we're really doing is updating the ledger. So my ledger is going to say one less Bitcoin. Yours is going to say one more Bitcoin. That's just basically that's the transaction. Same thing happens when you send money from your bank to another bank. If you send your bank from Wells Fargo to your buddy's account or your girl's account or whatever in Bank of America, no truck is coming to your bank, taking out that money and then driving it over to the bank to be deposited. All they're doing is updating the ledger. The difference in traditional finance is that updating will not only cost you a pretty penny, but it'll typically take about 3 to 5 business days. This is why blockchain is more efficient, because it's ran on smart contracts. It's done pretty much instantly, and depending on the cryptocurrency you're dealing with or the network you're dealing with, it can be free and instant. So now back to DeFi and why DeFi is important. Because it gives you the ability. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you about borrowing. Another thing you could do with DeFi, you could lend, you could do liquidity providing, you could do all kinds of things. You can trade between different currencies, and you can borrow without having to get permission from a bank. There's no banks involved, no personal information has to be given out. I'm gonna give you an example. A couple winters ago, I messed up my clutch in my Audi. And getting the clutch fixed and a couple other things I needed done was like $4,600 to do. So I could have pulled the cash out and did it and just took the loss straight up. I could have liquidated some of my assets, some of my cryptos, and paid for it. Or I could do what I actually did, and that's this. At the time this happened, crypto was like really on a parabolic run. So all the cryptos I had were way, way up. So what I did is I did a collateral debt position. Just stick with me. Meaning that I took, I want to say 6,000-7,000 of my cryptos and I borrowed against it up to 80%. When you do that, it's not a tax event because you're not selling your crypto. So in other words, what I was able to do is take like 6,000 or whatever, borrow 5 against it, take that new crypto that I just borrowed, send it over to my prepaid debit card that runs on crypto. It's kind of like if you have a NetSpend or one of those credit cards that you have to go to the check cash place or Safeway or 7-Eleven and put money on, like a secured credit card. Well, it's that except for cryptos. So now I took that I borrowed, the crypto that I borrowed, sent it over to that card, then paid for my services. Then as crypto started to go down, I was able to pay it back for less. So I basically double whopped it. No tax event because I didn't sell any of my crypto. I just borrowed against it. You could do this with other assets as well. It's not just for crypto. But I'm just saying these are some of the advantages that you could do with DeFi. Why you need to understand DeFi. It's a lot more secure. It doesn't take any personal information. It can't be hacked by just accessing one server and breaching all of your personal information. And you don't need permission to do it. And you could do it with as little as $10, $20, $100, whatever. But in essence, what you're doing is you're just leveraging through this technology to make passive income or even more aggressive income the same way banks do. So like I said, the reason why Silicon Valley Bank failed, they didn't have the money when people wanted to pull out their money because they had it invested in high risk investments that didn't work out. So when the big wigs came to get their money out, which is what they did, they caused panic to their retail customers, meaning people like me and you, and the money wasn't there to pull out. Hence, they fail. This is not the first time and it's not the last time these things will happen. But as we're moving forward, it's critical to understand different options that you have and different things that you can do with only a smartphone and an internet connection. So anyway, let's let Investopedia tell you about DeFi.
Decentralized finance, or DeFi, is an emerging financial technology based on distributed secure ledgers similar to those used by cryptocurrencies. This technology removes the control that banks and institutions have on money. In centralized
And that is right there enough to at least that was enough to pique my interest when I first started like learning about crypto. The idea is that you don't need a bank as much as you used to. You just don't. I'm not saying banks are obsolete. What I'm saying is they're definitely less necessary than they used to be. The reason why a lot of this crypto and blockchain stuff is picking up, especially in like Central America and Africa and other countries where keeping a bank account is a lot more challenging, or where there's only 20% of the people, the populations of some countries that even can have a bank account, is because you only need a smartphone and an internet connection. And now you could participate in the global market, buy, selling, holding, storing money, transferring money, doing different transactions. So the idea now is that banks are less necessary. This is why they're coming down so hard on crypto. This is why the whole little central bank digital currencies versus stablecoin is a big thing. That's a whole different subject, though. But let them continue.
finance, your money is held by banks and corporations. Say you buy a gallon of milk with your credit card. That charge goes from the merchant to a bank, which then forwards that information to a credit card network. Each entity in this chain receives payment for its services. Decentralized finance eliminates financial intermediaries. Using emerging technology, it lets individuals conduct transactions through peer-to-peer financial networks.
Peer-to-peer just means directly from me to you. No bank needed. Actually, peer-to-peer decentralized technology is actually what inspired Cash App. The idea that you could just send straight from me to you. You don't have to go through no banks. It's instant. You know what I'm saying? It's same concept.
You can lend, trade, and borrow using software that records, collects, and verifies financial actions in distributed databases. These databases are accessible from anywhere. You just need an internet connection. Decentralized finance has several benefits. For one, it eliminates the fees that banks and other financial companies charge. It also lets anyone with an internet connection transfer funds quickly without needing approval. What's more, DeFi applications give users more control. Money is held in personal wallets instead of a bank. Still, decentralized finance is new. Because it's unregulated, there are many hacks and scams. There are also concerns with system stability, maintenance, energy requirements, and hardware failures. Decentralized finance might also pose problems to existing financial regulation. But if decentralized finance succeeds, it's more than likely banks and corporations will find ways to participate in the system so they can profit from it.
And this is what we're seeing happen right now. Now, let me address the scams part about it, because yes, there's definitely, anytime there's a new technology, there's going to be people trying to take advantage. And this is why I say don't get into this as a get rich quick. Don't get into this because you heard somebody tell you that there's some great return that you can get. Don't even do that. First of all, just understand what it is. That way you could assess the different opportunities or options out there. I only deal with one particular platform because a lot of them are fly by night. They're not proven. They're not truly decentralized, et cetera, et cetera. So never get into this as I'm going to get rich quick. Learn the game first. This is why I say learn Bitcoin. I'm not saying buy Bitcoin, learn it. Then you'll understand everything that's involved with cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology by default. And you'll have a better understanding of what money is and how money works. Now, this part, banks and corporations will find ways to participate in the system so they can profit. This is already happening. Virtually every bank out there is right now integrating blockchain and or cryptocurrencies into their financial system as we speak. Whole countries are making cryptocurrencies legal tender or updating their ledger system to be blockchain based. This is happening. So what you're going to see happen over the next few years is you're going to see these large corporations, banks, other financial institutions offer you services and products that you're going to want to go with because you trust the bank, but they're things that already exist. This is why I say understand the game, learn about decentralized protocols, learn about blockchain, learn about all of this stuff. Then you'll figure out your own roadmap of what you want to do and how you want to do it. Because everything that you're going to see offered to you in the years coming already exists. The difference is you could do it on your own and retain ownership and more sovereignty and more security, or you could do it through them. And essentially, you'll just be participating in the new banking system with the exact same flaws, meaning over leveraging, fractional reserves, one single point of failure, meaning that all they have to do is hack the server and everybody's information is breached, or you have to get permission to do some of these things. So everything that's going to come already exists. If you're already into crypto, you kind of understand it already if you've been paying attention. This is why, it's critical. My channel, Crypto Talk Podcast, is not about telling you what to buy, what kind of investments to make. It's just basically letting you know the stories, the things that are going on right now in the real world, which will let you see where the trajectory is going and give you an opportunity to get ahead of the curve and learn how to do things like deal with some of these decentralized protocols, which, look, if the people who risk losing all their money in that bank held their money on their own in a secure wallet, they would never have to worry about not being able to pull out. The money would always be there. So these are the differences of like the different things, like the way we're going, and only a very small percentage of people understanding this and going to be able to benefit from it and safeguard their wealth versus those who don't understand why banking is what it is, why it's actually more risky than people think, and why banks fail. I don't care where you bank. They deal with fractional reserve banking, meaning they don't have all your money. Meaning that any one day, if everyone went to the bank to take their money out, only about 5% of you are getting it. And you can bet the large companies that hold money in that bank are going to get theirs first. This is what happened at Silicon Valley Bank. So anyway, I don't want to make this too long, you guys. I don't want to bore you guys with this, but subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe if you're not watching this on YouTube. Study this. Do your own research. Like I said, for consultations and learning how to deal with some of these DeFi protocols and different things that you can do, cryptopodcast@gmail.com. Peace.